this is where I'm saying about that China pushing the beach ball down into the water. They've been pushing it down to try to scare off all the competition and kill off all those companies as they shut down production and slow projects. The weaker companies, the bigger companies will come in and take them over.
Surely at this point, early 2025, he had his choice of Nvidia, Tesla, Bitcoin. He's a young guy, and he's pulled from somewhere. Well, I mean, it's not the 1950s anymore.
Maybe he's a genius.
Hello and welcome to this week's Closing Bell. As ever, I'm joined by the star of the show, Murray Dawes. I'm Callum Newman, and we're coming from Fat Tail headquarters here.
In our brand new studio, looking good.
Yeah, absolutely. And wow, it's just all suddenly happening. The market's breaking out into all-time highs, but particularly in the mining sector. We talked about lithium a couple of weeks ago. We've touched on rare earths. Now, graphite's heating up. Tell us, Murray, you're going to tell us about this because I haven't covered off on this story, but suddenly it's strategic metals all the way, everywhere.
Well, this is all the biggest news, I think, in the market at the moment is America actually taking steps to shore up their supply chain in critical metals. We know, it's been a theory of mine for a while, that China is deliberately crashing these markets to scare off Western competition.
Yep.
And my theory on that is sort of like the beach ball being pushed down into the water. You can push a beach ball down in the water, but you've got to keep force on it. Mm-hmm. And as soon as you take the pressure off, what's going to happen? That beach ball is going to fly back up in your face the other way. So that's how I see markets in those critical metals if China has been deliberately oversupplying. Like in graphite, the synthetic graphite, they all of a sudden just ramped up production there, crashed the market massively. All the Western groups like Sarah Resources, which I unfortunately had as a tip, got absolutely sublammed. Well, thankfully we didn't buy it where it was $2, but then it fell to 20 cents or something.
Well, that whole junior mining space got smashed.
Just got absolutely smashed. And it's across the board in that even nickel, the way that they ramped up production through Indonesia, and lithium, rare earths as well. So there was really a sign there for a long time that it's China that's been driving a lot of that, even though we had EV sales sort of coming off the boil a bit. But if you look at EV sale growth in Europe and China, it's still flying. And I did a little test on AI the other night and said, well, if Chinese and European growth rates in their EV sales continue at the current rate for the next 3 to 5 years, what will the demand-supply balance look like in lithium in that case? And I was quite surprised that it really could flip by 2027 to being out of balance the other way, where it's undersupplied, if that growth rate continues in China and Europe, even without US really chipping in because their sales have been soggy. So from that point of view, I'm looking at lithium down in the cost curve, thinking that is possibly getting close to the bottom, and we're starting to see some buying pressure there. Mm-hmm. And we said the other day, Pilbara and
we did.
And that
yep.
we both said have a look at these guys, and they're actually running pretty hard. And now they've come out with graphite saying anti-dumping charges into the US from Chinese anode material, like near 100%. And I've only just seen this on the way in this morning, and seen that stocks like Sarah Resources are up massively, even though they've been absolutely hammered. And we'll have a look at the chart. And I was just thinking,
it was only last week that Trump did the 50% tariff call on copper.
Yep.
So again, another one of these metals.
You're seeing that they're taking concrete steps to shore up their supply chain, and that they do see it as China really trying to scare off that competition and forcing these prices low. So they're saying, right, well, we're going to offer you in the rare earths 100% above the current spot price. We're going to guarantee that price for you to get the production going. So that's a really strong statement of what they're going to do. And it just increases the odds that projects in Australia may get up and running. So things like Arafura Resources, which are probably the next cab off the rank with a high NdPr
and Iluka's
percentage.
Getting a bid, right? Because it's got the rare earths within its bigger thing of mineral sands.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so we're looking at this thing which used to be the huge market darling years ago. Everyone got killed, right? I'm sure there's few people at home right now who are sitting on a stock that they bought thinking that they were going to become millionaires, that has gone from $2 to 20 cents. Like, this is what we've been in for the last few years.
Absolutely.
But if you think of it from the point of view of the next 20 years, and why did lithium do what it did a few years ago? Because of the idea of what lithium the demand could be.
EV and batteries.
Exactly. And we're still seeing big growth in areas of the market. We've got robotics, which could end up in the next 5-10 years, maybe not now, but that could end up being a huge extra demand for lithium down the track, for example. So the long-term bullish story is still intact, but we've had a massive crash and we're starting to see signs of life. So there could be some pretty big opportunities coming at the moment. And with the US making this statement of what they're going to do to support ex-China production, and we're seeing it one after the other, copper, rare earths, now graphite, that this is a real changing of the guard and something that investors should be really watching.
Absolutely. And like, if we project forward, like if we get, well, actually, let's start back. Go back to 2022, and gold stocks were on the floor. Now 3 years later, some of them are absolutely flying, and the gains have been enormous. That's kind of what we're tabling here, is say, we don't know what's going to happen in the next 6 months, but as we say, if the long-term trend for lithium is, well, they're all been absolutely hammered.
So the downside from here, unless they're going bankrupt,
relative to the upside,
is huge.
It is huge.
So is it worth having a stab? Like I've actually gone into lithium a bit. I won't say which ones or what I've done, but pretty much with a half position. So it's that sort of an idea that, look, we're starting to see signs of life. It's still early days. We could still see further volatility ahead in the next 6 months, 12 months.
Of course, yeah.
But I want to have a bit of a toehold in there and then be able to observe and add to it down the track if it gets stronger, or even if it gets weaker, maybe add to it, on pullbacks and that sort of thing.
Let's talk, even look at uranium. I mean, that was a dog of a market for years, but then, in the last 3 years, it's been an absolute belter. And if you'd got on, what was Paladin when you got on?
12 cents.
12 cents. What is it now? They've restructured
had a 10 for one, but it's up massively.
It's up huge. So that's the potential. So I'm super curious as well. I'll write about my next issue as well. So you're going to chart the graphite plays, right?
Yeah, well, just to have a look at the thing, which is the news that we're seeing just today. Now, this is Syrah Resources. Obviously, they have this massive graphite mine, world's biggest, highest grade, that sort of thing. And
been around forever.
Been around for ages. So it's got the mine, but now it's become vertically integrated. And it actually has downstream assets in America producing graphite anode, and it could expand the growth there as well. So with this news of the anti-dumping on Chinese graphite anode, that's going to help their especially growth plans and that sort of thing. So this one is absolutely on the floor. So you see,
we're in 2020 when the market collapsed.
Exactly. So $2.60. Look at it. It was up there saying, look, this is the one. They're going to make so much money. They've got huge supply. They're going to open this Vidalia, which is their, I think, downstream asset in the US. And they're going to make squillions.
But it broke down.
Look what happened
at the same time as the rest of them.
Yeah, same time. And so we've got the initial wave down. Now we've got all these people who have bought in here, basically freaking out, and they're the guys that have and girls that have been dumping the stock through here. So this is that real final giving up the ghost, and down to 20 cents. And it's been a long, hard slog, and I can guarantee you there's been a hell of a lot of people have. Oh, that's not what I wanted to happen. A hell of a lot of people have given up the ghost in this period here. So this is where we talk about these sort of rounding bottoms. So it's getting that feeling that you've finally had everyone taken out, who could get taken out, and if this thing's going to survive, I'm looking at this. Look at the long-term trend, nearly about to shift. We've had another monthly buy pivot just 2 months ago, actually, even though it's a weak one. So there's still selling pressure around. So in a stock like this, because so many people are long and wrong and in pain, even as it rallies, it'll probably get hit by people who are sort of sick to death of it and ready to get out. So it may take time. We may still be in early stages, but just think long term. It's still got the asset. It's still got the increasing the size of their plant and all that sort of thing, the project in the next
Yep.
few years they can do, good deals on the table. So it still could end up turning up, this one. And the news that's out, it's actually up quite strong today. It was actually up at 40 cents to start with, just to show you what the news did today. So this is what happened today. That's a pretty massive move, even though it's like I said, getting hit
Considering
because,
how dormant it's been.
for so long. So it was up, 40 cents before, massive gap up, and look, the selling comes in because this is again the frustrated longs, but that'll end up finishing. And I
What
think
was the stock that was in Scandinavia? And I remember
TLG,
was it? Was that doing anything?
Talga.
That's right. That was in
So
the
look at that.
conversation for ages.
Look out, 45 cents. So this one again, it's a very similar story. And I'll just bring up the monthly just to give a sense of how bad it's been in these things. So I've even got the structure there.
I remember
just to
that
show
one
you.
Absolutely ripped, didn't it? Look at that.
Absolutely ripped.
Look at that one.
Yeah. So that was a great one. And again, I'm always looking for these situations where we've got this massive wave higher, and then the music stops, and we've had a lot of work done. And again, just for learning's sake, you can see that it pulled back to the point of control. There's the midpoint of the wave. So it pulled back to there and ended up finding support. Where did it rally to? Right up into the sell zone. That's where the selling ended up coming in, and then it failed. And where did it go? Down into the buy zone. So here it is, right down at the point where everyone's given up the ghost. Is it ready to turn up? So that is sort of looking like it may be near the end of its clear out phase and getting ready to possibly turn up.
And we should say what's true of the US is probably true of Europe, that they're going to have to start locking up some supply, and that one's within Europe. So
Exactly,
they'll be keen to
they're
support
close
it.
to all the OEMs and have a big resource and have some technology as well. So that one could end up coming back alive as well.
It's interesting to note, we were talking earlier before that even though the ASX 200 is at all-time highs, the small cap sector is not at all-time highs. It's actually the widest gap that we were talking about since the GFC, in fact. And so many of these speculative, they are legit progress, but that speculative end of the market, the higher risk type of thing, it's still, the sentiment
A lot
is
of them
nothing like
been
it was.
terrible, and especially in all of the old market darling future-facing metals. Like all of those have been so hammered that you'd think you never want to touch them ever again in your life. But they're back at those buy zone areas, and they're at the point where everyone's cleared out. So if the news gets good, if things start to turn up, all of a sudden these things will power.
And as you say, the interesting thing about these ones is they've done a lot of the work, like the studies. Some of them have even built the assets, and it's just all got stranded in a way. So it wouldn't take much for them to pick it all up.
Turn around and all of a sudden look
just
good.
need those prices to go up.
Exactly.
And suddenly it's all there.
And this is where I'm saying about that China pushing the beach ball down into the water. They've been pushing it down to try to scare off all the competition and kill off all those companies. But if either America's moves or what they're doing, or just demand growth profile is so good that it just ends up taking over, that you can't hold it down forever. So the market will eventually have to readjust if the demand profile goes large enough that you have a gap between what's supplied, et cetera, and that could flip quite quickly, and they won't be able to keep it down against its will forever. So all of a sudden it could go from being terrible and looking awful to just going vertical as things then readjust.
Well, we should say lithium has done this before. I remember there was the bull market from 2015 to about 2017. It all fell in a heap. And then it took till 2020, and then it skyrocketed again. So it does go in this crazy wild boom bust kind of thing, because it's such a it's relative to the bigger oil and that type of thing. It's such a small market, right? So the price goes around like crazy. So absolutely super intriguing and potentially super exciting. But the question is, we can get those false rallies where everything looks like it's coming back.
I'll always do that. That's why you've got to place your stoppies at a point where you're definitely proven wrong. And at the moment, for me, you give it enough room to move because it's still early days. I mean, that is not trending up. If we look at that Talga, is that trending up? No, it's still right near the bottom of the range. It's had a monthly buy pivot all the way back there, and then it's done work shaking everyone out. So I feel like with Talga, if it can get above, what's that? About 50 cents above 50 cents, that could start to run. But it's still so early days, and you'd have to look at where the project's at.
And you feel like with lithium, a little bit in the same way with gold, like the ones that can get to cash flow the fastest are going to move first. So the goldies, the big producers have ripped up like Regis and all that type of thing, but the juniors is only now starting to come. So same with lithium, you'd think Pilbara is like the bellwether of that sector because it can get into cash flow.
And they're very low cost. Even though they're hard rock, they're a very low cost hard rock. So they can withstand a lot of problems. Because what's going to happen now is as they shut down production and slow projects, the weaker companies, the bigger companies will come in and take them over. So the ones that are a bit out of the money at the moment and really struggling, the big boys will be able to come in and sweep them up for pennies on the dollar and then add that product when the prices turn back up, and it'll all work out for them. So,
and we should say, we were just chatting quickly off camera about how Drone Shield and EOS have gone bananas lately, and their defence stock. So the critical minerals kind of ties in with this idea that the Western world is rearming, resupplying,
separating from China a bit in the things that they need.
All this kind of dynamic. So in a strange way, even though they're not miners as such, I do feel like that thematic, if it gets behind these ones, could result in similar big moves because that's just what the market's going with. That these things are strategic, and you can't rely on getting it from Russia like you could 10 years ago or whatever. So super interesting. Now you're going to tell us about a little specky, right? Unrelated to some of this is in some ways it is related because semiconductors and all that type of thing.
Yep. One that has been causing angst for a long time. Again, a market darling with an amazing story.
Yes,
and stories don't make you money.
I had a crack at this one. It didn't work for me.
Yeah. So. Stories don't make you money. Revenues do. But with this sort of a stock, Weebit Nano working on it's a new non-volatile memory method called ReRAM. They are actually market leader worldwide in this. They've already had deals done with Fabs, Skywater, and they're working on DJ Tech.
And look at that, it was over $8 back in 20. It was a huge rally.
It hit $9. It was a massive rally. And look, this has been the perfect clear out of positions that I look for. If I just have a quick look at that whole move.
Now this is an Israeli firm, and they've got quite a reputation for tech over there in Israel. That's like a little outpost of Silicon Valley. So that's interesting as well.
And they are well respected in what they're doing, and it's the end of this year is when they're actually going to start pushing these things out into actual products. So it's quite an exciting time to see
but
how
we should
it goes.
say it doesn't produce cash flow.
No,
so
it's come, but it's on the edge of things starting to flow, but the size of the cash flow that could come if this starts to take over flash memory, edge AI computing, neuromorphic computing, all that sort of stuff. IoT it's all on the edge of really happening. So they're in automotive. They're that's where they can be really useful as well, and they're that's all about to start happening. So you think 5 years ahead, if this company does follow through and actually start to be used in a big way across the board in all these different
which is why it went to $8 in the first place.
Exactly. So it could ultimately go to 20. You don't know. So it is that sort of situation that I like.
You had that phrase a while ago, hero or zero. I feel like it's definitely
it's a bit like that. It's a bit like that. So we've had the massive run. This is the clear out. We've gone into long-term downtrend, and it's still in long-term downtrend. There's that sort of buy zone area that I always talk about where I'm interested to see if prices can turn around in that sort of zone. We've already had one rally, which failed. And it's gone down, and I quite like the fact that we're on the second go. So we've had the false break. So this is so the people who buy in here, their stop losses are placed below the low. So they've got stop losses down below here, and they got taken out. So you've had another stop loss wave happen. Look at that; it's gone and hit the bottom of the buy zone exactly. And this month potentially we're shaping up as a monthly buy pivot there. So this one, where I'm thinking it's a real firecracker as far as what it could do, this year is a bit of a transformational time for seeing whether it's going to start getting pushed out. They've got deals. They're ahead of the competition, and they've got some big players trying to play catch up to them at the moment. So they've got that lead advantage at the moment to see what can happen here.
They could get bought out too, in theory.
They could get bought out. So if I was going to look at something like that and think about this is a punt, this is a possible 10-bagger if it can all come off, but the risk of it not coming off, I guess, is high. So it's like, well, this may go to zero. It may not work out.
Yeah.
It's an absolute punt, but I'm not buying it at $9 and stressing out 2 years later with it at $2.
Yeah.
I'm buying it after everyone's been cleared out, and we're starting to see some momentum.
Well, and as you alluded to, like if they're going to release their quarterlies as they go along, so the market reaction to the news flow will be important too. If it starts to get a strong bid on those.
Yeah. So the next few years could be quite exciting for this. So for me, it's like am I willing to have a bit of a stab at that to see whether they can pull it off? I think it's interesting.
All right. Well, there's one final one that I walked in today, and Belvedere stunned me. He said he's made 30% pretty quick on a stock, and he said it was Warner Brothers. So do you want to bring up WBD? Well, this is totally unplanned. I'm springing this on Murray here, but Belvedere is speculating at the moment, and he tells me that the Warner Brothers movie franchises had a new director or something, and it's actually made him some money.
Well, here we go.
So what is he up to here? Belvedere not being a trader.
Is this like the shoe shine boy coming and telling you to buy stocks? Which
this
stock
could
to
be
buy?
a signal of the top. Belvedere speculating on a.
But tell you what,
an obscure company.
He's been listening because it's looking pretty interesting.
That's in the
it's been a terrible old fall from grace, hasn't it?
Well, I'm just thinking movies. I just feel like that's.
I'd probably
very old style.
Think about this as, is this a possible turnaround story? So I'd be looking at just the price action that we're seeing.
I want to know where he
recently.
got this idea from. I mean, who even talks about Warner Brothers?
So the way I look at it is we've had an initial attempt to rally. So there's your low, and then a spike occurred. And then you've got the clear out of those positions. And as I say, the stop losses are usually below the low. So then you've got stop losses going off here for all the people who have been buying in this area here. And then we have the second attempted rally. And I like the second. I like to see this sort of a setup where you have had an attempted run already and people have been cleared out, and then it turns up again. I find that the odds of it running on the second go are higher than the odds of that first go. So then I'd be just looking at that, and I'd be considering the structure based on what's going on there. And you can see, so we've had this initial wave higher, which creates the range. Then I say that 25% below the range is often where you'll get a support. And from that support, you can see a retest of the point of control.
Yeah.
So there's the midpoint there.
Well, Belvedere said he's up 30%, so he must have got in towards the bottom there.
Yeah, so there's the midpoint of that range there. And you can see from this low, where did it go to? The midpoint, exactly.
Now,
so it went to retest the midpoint. It's then had another wave lower. This is where it gets exciting, because it's had this initial wave. It's then come to retest the buy zone of that wave. And now it's taking off through that high. So this is looking really nice. And if this is a monthly, it's a monthly. So there's a monthly long-term trend. It's just turned up. So going through this point of control now, I'd really give it targets straight away to the sell zone.
Oh my Lord, maybe Belvedere should have his own service.
Yeah. So I'd expect this to rally up to about there, possibly come back to retest that point of control, and then have a go at breaking out above that wave there. So it is setting itself up, and on this pullback it could come back to that buy zone. So I'd sort of expect something like that. So that's my prediction.
What I'm confused
Warner's.
about, he surely at this point, early 2025, he had his choice of Nvidia, Tesla, Bitcoin. He's a young guy, and he's pulled Warner Brothers from somewhere. Well, I mean, it's not the 1950s anymore.
Maybe he's a genius. Maybe I've got to start following him.
Well, keep you posted on it. Please treat Belvedere speculation with high suspicion and very high risk, but it's working for him. So
that's what's going to happen.
With it.
Yep.
All right, so we'll leave you with that thought. So Strategic Metals is lining up the Aussie market. Absolutely, and we think there's very long-term opportunity here. So you can go in with a probably more of an investment mindset at the moment.
Yeah,
when it's
having dipping the toe
as
in,
opposed to
dipping
a
the
trade.
toe in and seeing how it evolves.
Yeah, but there's definitely some brewing momentum there. And if you're over 100 years old and interested in speculating on Warner Brothers, Belvedere has that idea for you. But it's looking good so far. So we'll see again next week. Don't forget that Murray's gone into some of the lithium stocks in his actual trading service. So if you are interested in his analysis and what he's doing, get on to Retirement Trader.
That's it. All right. See you later.
See you next week.